Hey guys, welcome to the Selfish Sorceress Conjures page. And today I want to do a short tarot video, beginner's tarot. So to begin with, we're gonna start with the basics. So when you have a tarot deck, doesn't matter what it is, the very first thing you want to do is get to know your deck. So just like any divinational objects that you're going to be using to commune with spirits or any type of energy, you're going to want to build a new relationship with these things first. And at first it is a bit awkward and possibly uncomfortable, but once you get to know the deck, it becomes much easier to get accurate readings. So the tarot that I use is called the Tarot of the Vampire, and it also brings me to my second point. Besides growing an appreciation with your tarot deck and creating a personal relationship with it as if it was any other spirit that you would be trying to create a relationship with, you would also want to study the book that comes with your tarot. Maybe not word for word, but definitely use it as a guideline, because each card is going to be interpreted differently by every individual that does their tarot readings. So you're definitely going to want to go through the book, look at the different types of methods and tarot spreads that they use, the history and the origins in which it came from, and it's definitely going to help you develop your own sense of spirituality and sense of reading the tarot and just creating your own narrative when you go through it. So I guess instead of trying to memorize every single card, word for word, read through the book once or twice and get to know the gist of every card's meaning, and then pretty much use your own intuition to figure out the narrative of the tarot, because it's much easier and it develops your own psychic intuition much further than just reading symbolisms from front to back, which is no fun anyway. Put some more copal, guys. I love copal. A little sensor burner. Okay, so third, when you work with tarot, as you can see, the first thing you want to do, besides familiarizing yourself with it, is creating your sacred space. So right now, I always have a special blanket or just a special cloth that I put my tarot on when I read it. It's almost like creating a circle before you do a ritual or something. You want to have a sacred spot or a sacred cloth that you not only store your tarot in. I have mine in one of these velvet drawstring bags, but you're also gonna create a very sacred space for the spirits to commune with you, or else you might get spirits that you don't want to commune with anyway. So I have my cauldron. I have my water cauldron here. Sometimes I use that as an offering for the spirits. And then I also have my censer. I fill with smoke. I usually use copal or frankincense. And I also have a cinnamon stick I use to mix my herbs around when I put them in the censer as I read my tarot, depending on if I'm using it for ancestral work or if I'm using it just for a simple reading or whatnot, or a spread. I just go off intuition and I use off various types of scents and incense smokes. So yeah, you light candles, you have a cloth or a special spot that you always read your tarot in. I have a crystal. This one's very special to me. I use this as my energy source for many of my other small quartz crystals. I was actually given to this by a psychic healer lady that literally just randomly gave it up to me. So I actually got that at a tarot reading, and so ever since I got that from her in a tarot reading, I use it online, and that creates a little sacred space for me that I'm very comfortable with, so I'm ready to do my tarot. For my fourth point here, when you do a tarot, you're going to want to be very specific, because I notice a lot of people, they'll go about tarots asking very skimpy, less concise questions to the tarot, or maybe even questions that are seeking way too far into the future. That's honestly really not what tarot is about. So if you're a beginner, it's going to take time for you to really get to know your deck and listen to your own intuitive voice. So rather than asking a really broad question right off the back, that might confuse you or be overwhelming. So you want to keep it clear, concise, and short. So if you're new at this, I would think about my questions before I would go about doing a tarot reading, and maybe even writing them down in a nice tarot journal. And that's going to help you develop your psychic abilities much further and help you formulate much better questions to ask the tarot, so you can get better and more accurate answers from that. So I guess, for example, will you quit your job in a month, or will you find the love of your life in a year, or in the next 6 months, you know? So the clearer you are, the easier it is for the spirits and the universe and the deck to work with you to find you your answer. My fifth point here we're going to talk about is shuffling and cutting your deck. I've seen this done in numerous and in a plethora of ways. You can choose any way that you'd like to cut the deck. What I usually do first is I take the deck and I'll just shuffle it real quick. And then I'll cut the deck in half, and then I'll start. For some reason, I usually do that method when I'm doing like a simple spread, like a present, past, future spread, 1, 2, 3 card, or maybe just a 1-card pool. Pretty much for all my more lengthy or more complicated tarot spreads, I'll cut them in 7 or 9. So just literally cutting my deck as much as possible to get those cards mixed up and give concise answers there for you. So there's really not a right or a wrong way to cut your deck, but I just think it's really important to develop a special method for yourself. So every single time you go to do a tarot reading, you'll have a nice methodology down for you. Before you begin tarot, you should always be sitting down asking either your spirit guides or an aiding spirit to help you carry your requests through the tarot, or else it's just going to be playing with cards. So my 6th point here is to sit quiet, and before you begin, you want to sit quiet and maybe ask your spirit guides or make a petition to a specific deity to come and help you with your tarot reading. And I believe this is one of the most important things you can do with the tarot, and definitely the most overlooked, because how else are you seeking answers from the universe if you're not sitting down and asking for them? You're just sitting down playing with cards, interpreting symbols on them. Otherwise, if you're not calling on your own spiritual guides or a deity to come in and help you. So once you relax, you close your eyes, you sit down, you call out your spirit guides. We all have one, so you don't have to worry about having a specific spirit or a specific deity to call to. Just ask your own specific spirit guides to join you and to help you, aid you in your tarot reading. And this is also helps surround you with a protective shield naturally, and a protective barrier between you and other unwanted spirits. My 7th point I'm going to get here is to do a simple spread first. So one simple spread here I'm going to show you is just a past, present, future spread. It's a 1, 2, 3 spread. Here I call this one the blood trail. In my book book of the tarot for vampire or vampiric spirits. This is called the Blood Trail. So it's just your past, present, future tarot spread here. It's something basic. The more simple you keep your tarot spread when you first begin, the easier it's going to be to get to not only know your cards and know their personalities and different archetypes, but it's also going to help you begin help your own intuition flourish and develop your own psychicisms, because not really everyone's born with it, and some people need meditational practices to be able to get to where some people are born with. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with starting your psychic system at point 1. We all grew up in different lives and had different backgrounds. So definitely starting with a smaller spread if you're new at this will make it much more simple for you to interpret, and will definitely help you interpret larger spreads over time then. And last but not least, know how to interpret your reading. Don't rush through it. Take your time. Even though you might only do a 3-card spread, maybe sit there for the same amount of time as a 7-card spread and really look at the symbolisms, the color, the numbers, the zodiacal trumps, the planetary trumps, the masculine and the feminine energies within the card. You want to put that all together to really create a narrative for yourself. So if you're doing it for somebody else or for yourself, you're going to be getting the most accurate answers possible, and the universe will work with you much easier, and you will be able to get answers and messages much more clearly if you start things small and then work your way up to advanced. And the best way to do that is to research and to study and to read constantly, at least for your first 2 or 3 years in anything concerning divinational practice or witchcraft, because it's just not something that's going to happen overnight. Sometimes it is, usually it's not. So I'm actually going to show you a simple spread. I showed you the Blood Trail, but this is also one of my favorite ones called Trespass. So you're going to go and you're going to pick any card from the deck that you relate to the most, or that relates to your question the most, and you're going to use that card as your first card. That card is going to be the universal force and the overall energy surrounding your question. And then you're going to pull 5 more cards to the right of it. It's a 5-card spread, but I'm going to tell you why it's one of my favorite beginner spreads. It's going to have 6 in total here, you see. And then your ruling energy card. So this is called Trespass. You pull your ruling energy card that relates to your question the most, and then 6 cards to the right of it. And this is a good beginner spread here, because as you go down each card, you're going to be creating a narrative. So what I actually suggest is getting your own little notebook or your own little book of shadows. This is mine. And you're just going to write. It's called automatic writing or creative writing. So just write what comes to your mind at first. That's going to be your first narrative for it. And then once you're done interpreting your cards, going through the line, starting at card 1 all the way down to card 6, basically creating a story relating to your question. And the last card here, number 6, is a really important card too, because this card you're going to want to take note, because it's going to be the answer that's going to unlock the rest of your cards here. It's going to bring all your narrative together, and you're really going to focus on this card to really search for your answer then. So that's called the Trespass. You want to put that in any type of book, a dream journal, and keep track of it. This is how you get to know your tarot and develop a nice spiritual relationship with it. And then I think one other one I can show you is called the Soothsayer. And that is also one of my favorites, because it's nothing really complicated and it doesn't require a lot of time out of your life, so to speak. Some people are really busy and just don't have all day to really learn tarot consecutively. So this one is called Soothsayer, and you just pick one card each day starting on Sunday. And so of course you're gonna go through the tarot steps. Make sure you develop a question that's concise and clear. Then for starting on Sunday, you pick one card for each day until you return back to Sunday. And on each day in your dream journal or whatever, you're going to interpret each card to the best of your ability. I usually do 2 interpretations. When I was a beginner, I did the first interpretation that I wrote down from my own psychicism, and then I did an interpretation again and rewrote the narrative after I read the book that came with the tarot, so I could intertwine their symbolisms with my own and things that I picked up. So this is called the Soothsayer. 1 card each day for a week, and then by the end of the week you'll have a narrative to analyze and answer your in-depth question with. So, and that's everything I have for you. And you want to put your card deck back into a dark, safe space. I always keep my tarot in a dark place. It's just been a practice and a hobby of mine. So that's what I do, and I put them in a box with blessed medallions. And then that's what I have for this deck of tarot. And I also have a Santa Muerte deck that I used for ancestral contacting, which is right here. I like this one because the symbolism is really simple and to the point, and it allows you to do a lot of own interpretation for yourself as well. So very good for ancestral and spiritual contact for those. So I'd like to thank you for watching my video. I know you haven't seen a lot of my face, but I just want to do an instructional beginner video on the tarot before I start posting any more complicated tarot spreads. I want everybody to get the gist of it. You can leave your comments and any questions or concerns on the Selfish Sorceress page. Thanks for watching, guys.